Focus Wolf Creek Pass FAA weather cam. Just look at it. That is wild. It is very wild.
It could just be seeing and capturing strange lights in the skies, moving about, darting about, hovering, disappearing, reappearing, chasing after airplanes, dipping down, going into the oceans or lakes. People are capturing ball lightning. People are capturing sprites, which are transient luminous events that never were seen before. Very rarely did people see things like this, but now they're starting to happen more and more. People are capturing blue jets, blue beams of light shooting up from the tops of the clouds and reaching up into the heavens. Skylights, sky pillars, sky beams, people are seeing all over the place, and it's being shown to us in the movies as well. These are sightings of what are called transient luminous events. They're supposed to happen quickly. They're supposed to be very rare occurrences. But when those things that were supposed to be and used to be very rare occurrences become the new norm, it's an omen of great change that is on the way.
People wanted an answer. If you do go to the light, what happens? Well, here you go. So remember what I asked. If you do go to the light, what will happen to you? So basically what I'm asking you is what happens to your soul if you go to the light?
Has anybody ever used one of them
It's
before?
funny, everybody's all about doing their own research and shit nowadays. But here I have the biggest fucking discovery in history, and now to see what fucking person wants to look. All you gotta do is take the phone and try to record these objects. You hold your lips right, you get the angles right, and you'll see them. They're three-dimensional, so you play around with it long enough, you'll be able to record atoms yourself. Hell, I don't know why everybody's not observing them right fucking now. This is a whole new fucking world you could be looking at. Nobody could give a fuck less. Doesn't cost anything, doesn't take anything, it just takes time and a little bit of effort. It's crazy to me.
Sky ice, it's firmament, it's a rock, it's something, it's from the aliens. What the fuck is this? It's from the sky. Nothing should be like that, from the sky.
Is this. We're in Afghanistan. We're looking for high-value targets. A patrol is dispatched. They missed their rally point. Nobody knows where these guys are. So the next morning, another patrol is dispatched to the same location to try to follow this trail, see where they go in the Kandahar province. And as they're coming around the corner, they start to see what looks like parts of uniforms, bones, blood. And before anybody can do anything, a nightmare comes out of the cave. 14-footer. He's got flaming red hair, 6 fingers, 6 toes. He is screaming at the top of his lungs. He is brandishing a lance. One of the men break away and start firing it. This thing moves with such agility and speed that it stuns the rest. Everybody's like, this soldier is impaled, and the giant's holding it up, screaming at the top of its lungs. Somebody yells, shoot him in the head, shoot him in the head. They open up fire, and they basically decapitate him. What does that sound like? David and Goliath, right? He's dead. They radio him, and a big, jolly green giant helicopter comes in. They crate this thing up in the net. They fly him out of there. Patrol goes back, and they write everything down, and then you're told, rewrite the story without the giant. So they do that. So you say, well, that's a colorful story, LA. And it is. I get that. We have a second witness who was there a few years after the event. So he's there, and they're doing cave fighting training, right? And they're told, when you're in a cave, and if you confront something, aim high. You mean like here? No. High. 9 to 10 feet high. And there all the soldiers are going like, what are we looking at here? Years later, a gentleman called me up and wanted to get in touch. He said he was part of a government operation that received the giant bodies. And then
more than one.
Book of Enoch describes exactly what happened to these giant ancient trees. It describes how these were cut down by the angels to flood the Nephilim giants reaching 4,500 feet tall. And I believe once these trees were fell, the waters rushed out from below as the waters poured from above. The same can be seen today in the smaller trees. When their roots hit the underground water lines and they're chopped down, they will start gushing water like water fountains. Now imagine that with trees that stretched to the heavens. It says there were about 200 of these trees. And in the many years of looking into this, I would say that's about an accurate number. Perhaps even more. Many are still left to be uncovered, buried right beneath the surface of what we just think are nothing but hills. There was a reason why the book of Enoch, along with 14 other books, were conveniently removed from today's version of the Bible. It painted a far too accurate picture of the true nature and history of this realm. Question everything, friends.
Why you always lock your doors. A man named Julio Magneto was working as an executive chauffeur for a company when he's told to wait by a dark alley to pick up a lady near Calamanda, Mexico. It's near 3 a.m. and Julio's completely alone in his car when suddenly he hears someone trying to open his passenger door.
Escucho cómo se estaba moviendo la chapa de afuera, como si quisieran abrir el carro. Y no había nadie. Yo, qué raro, qué extraño. Fue parte de mi susto ahorita. Miren cómo se mueve la chapa. ¿Ya vieron? No hay nadie. No. Miren cómo se mueve la chapa. ¿Hay alguien ahí? ¿Hola?
From outside of Julio's car, someone can be heard pulling on the door handle, trying to get in. Seeing no one there and having to wait for the client, Julio waits. But as whatever this is continues pulling on the door, he begins to pray and sees this.
Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase, Señor, tu voluntad en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden. No nos dejes caer en la tentación y líbranos de todo mal. Amén. Bueno. Su mecha. No más.
Through his side mirror, Julio sees someone moving out of sight, almost as if they were watching him, then move right when they were spotted. Julio decides it's best to ignore orders and simply drive out of there.
You believe these are real or faked actually does not matter at all. There is a much bigger problem with crop circles. Whoever is designing these has a geometric knowledge that is so deep it requires a multidisciplinary analysis from multiple fields of science to decode these things. Magnetic field, for example. They can also take the top view, rotate it on its side, and then give you that side view. They can show you what a bar magnet's magnetic field looks like, but you gotta know that this is a 4-poled bar magnet to actually decode this. They've shown magnetic components like this motor and stator. They've taken very complex 3D geometry and flattened it down into a 2D representation of it. Some of them are even ancient spiritual concepts like the geometry of space-time, the geometry of consciousness, or the flower of life. At Stonehenge, they were able to execute a perfect Julia set fractal. Some show detailed celestial events like the lunar calendar and an 18-year lunar eclipse cycle. Molecular geometry of vitamin A. Easy work. Correct perspective and ternary code for CERN. Easy work. This one's a quantum particle mapped from 8 dimensions down to 2 dimensions. Now, these guys really got me into this. Now, these may look deceptively simple, but you don't just draw this shape. They're describing physics concepts from something called sympathetic vibratory physics. It is very specialized knowledge you really have to dig for, think like Tesla tech. Back in the alchemy days, they hid this in symbolic art, in cathedrals, in books, and it's even hidden in your head. That goes back to ancient Egypt. Now, there are absolutely fake ones, but I don't think anyone here is dumb enough to compare this to something like that. And there remains no adequate explanation for how the stalks get bent and exploded in the way that they do in the real crop circles. So if you can't even execute this on paper, you don't get to say that they're fake or not.
I feel like the real... I have 2 cameras set up here, pointing at the lunar eclipse. One is a P900 full spectrum, the other one is a P1000 just normal. And as you can see, the P900 full spectrum is not seeing an eclipse, it's seeing the face of the moon. But the 1000 is seeing a shadow, or the supposed shadow. The P900 doesn't see it. So somehow, full spectrum or infrared removes the so-called shadow of the moon.
That's
pretty crazy.
Right? That couldn't possibly be real. Well, are you sure? Are you sure if you don't run it through an AI detecting app or website that you won't find that it's 100% a true image? But not just that one. Have you seen this picture? I wonder what would happen if I run this one through an AI detecting app. Oh, a 1% chance of it being AI. And a 99% chance of a true image. But how could that be? There were never beings that existed that were that big. Well, have you ever taken a look at the Teton Mountains? That's right, Teton. Sounds an awful lot like Titan. And if you know anything, you know they love to rub it right in our faces. And they would never just create simple fact checks to make people think, yeah, those are altered images, you don't need to worry about it. Just like they would never do that for some other things either. I researched a fact check to see if the Easter Bunny was real, and there was no fact check. Why would they waste their time on something as ridiculous as a firmament or giants? Ask yourself that. But of course,
airships, actual boats that were attached to one or more balloons in the 1700s. Check this one out. This one is from one of the World's Fairs. It says Exposition Universelle 1894. At the top, we've got this gigantic balloon, and it is tied to and holding up a house, a mansion at that. If I were to zoom in, notice this underneath it. Okay, this is real. This really existed. I looked this up, I had studied this, and this apparently actually was a floating mansion that was tied to a balloon, and this right here was an elevator, an ancient elevator, 1800s, 1894. And the people down here at the bottom at the World's Fair, the people would get into these elevators. There's one right here, actually. You see this one? There's an elevator that's attached, and they would ride the elevator all the way up and get off into this huge mansion that was a floating house in the sky, a floating castle. They made these in the old world. Just wanted to show you, this is from the National Air and Space Museum website and the Smithsonian, and they have a whole article that displays, this floating castle idea. Here's other ones. These are more hot air balloons. So before they actually had the ability to try to steer the ships, navigating the skies, it was pretty much balloons that had ships attached to them, which is why they're called airships, right? As you can see here, it's clearly a boat. It's a sky boat, right? People rode around. There's even a net. This guy's climbing the net, just like it's a ship, like a pirate ship or something. But these are the pirates of the air, the pirates of the sky. And they learned how to navigate the skies in the
and that was agreed to by 179 nations. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. It is the inventory and control plan of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And so many of us around the world think that, sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no, it really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. Because when systems don't meet, when they're out of balance or not in sync with one another, they can't be controlled centrally. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. Every nation that signed on to Agenda 21 has its local Agenda 21 plan. And people in the United States are completely unaware of this. The three pillars of United Nations Agenda 21 are economy, ecology, and equity, the 3 E's. And everyone sort of thinks that they know what that means, the idea of social equity. It must mean that, well, everyone's going to have access to clean water and clean air, and no one's property is going to be used as a dumping ground because they are at a poverty level. But really what social equity is about impoverishing huge portions of the population and bringing down the developed nations. Everything that we're looking at now is destined to collapse our economies. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. And what major corporations want in this development is to be able to have full movement of workers without borders or boundaries, to be able to move their goods through without regulations, and to reduce wages. Of course, economy and ecology is about, these are the 3 circles: economy, ecology, and social equity. And where they meet in the center is balance. But really that balance is a communitarian balance. So it's not balance of well-being of the people. What it is it's a balance for corporations so that they can exploit and control and have populations in an area, in tightly packed, dense areas, so that they can be surveilled and managed.
The best flat earth proof. And it's been hiding in plain sight for over 150 years. The Suez Canal, one of the most important shipping routes in the world, is a 120-mile waterway connecting the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Every day, massive ships pass through it, carrying millions of tons of cargo. And here's the part nobody talks about. It's perfectly level from one end to the other. No curves, no slopes. Just a straight level stretch of water for over 100 miles. On a globe, this should be impossible. Earth supposedly curves downward at about 8 inches per mile squared. Over 120 miles, that's a drop of more than 9,500 feet. Almost 2 miles of curvature. That means if the canal followed the globe's surface, ships at one end would be nearly 2 miles lower than ships at the other. And yet engineers who built it in the 1800s never accounted for curvature. Not once. They didn't need to. They simply leveled it, and it worked. Globe defenders say, gravity pulls the water into a curve, but water can only curve around a shape if it's contained. A canal isn't a sealed container, its surface is open and water always finds its level, always. And here's what's even stranger, this isn't just the Suez. The Panama Canal, the Erie Canal, and countless smaller waterways are all built level. None of their construction plans mention adjusting for curvature. You'd think if engineers knew they were building on a sphere, the blueprints would account for it. But they don't. Instead, they act like the Earth is exactly what they see and measure flat. You can see this for yourself without traveling. Just look up photos of the Suez Canal from the air. The water runs straight to the horizon, perfectly level, no visible drop. Ask yourself, how can something be that flat for that long on a spinning ball? They say space proves the globe, but sometimes the truth is right here on the ground.
Look at this thing we just found. It's got a Starlink, a bunch of cameras. It's a surfboard with a Starlink and a bunch of cameras. What is going on here? What is that thing? I've never seen. What the heck is that thing, dude? That's crazy. It's got its own internet. It's looking at us right now. How's it going?
This is for entertainment purposes. I know that there have never, ever been larger than normal beings that existed. Nah, a normal-sized human definitely swung that. And definitely swung that. That is an AI, remember. Maybe there's an agenda out there to get you to not believe in something.
could be a bird.
By a bunch of truthers. This is BBC. Told you this.
You're going to make this happen.
No. We're going to make models much cheaper. And then we photograph the models.
Fake newsreels.
Fake newsreels. For the past 10 years, people have been looking at our fake newsreels and listening to our fake commentaries.
And they accept it for the truth. And you can do it. Stop 100 people in the street. How many of them have actually seen a missile or a satellite? They're just told they exist and they believe it.
Yeah, you're getting there. I knew you would. You didn't really believe there were all these things whizzing about up there, did you? Sputniks and rockets. Astronauts crossing their legs for 8 days.
How long has this been going on?
Since Hiroshima.
And the H-bomb, you mean, that doesn't work either?
Right. Dirty.
Very, very dirty.
What was your first reaction? Relief. Oh, yes. Yes, it has to be relief.
You say you can put out what pictures you like on television. Doesn't anybody try to stop you?
No, nobody wants to. 99.386% of the population wouldn't believe this conversation. And the rest are working for us. And they're the top minds, the really responsible people. Scare an ostrich, buries its head in the sand. You scare a hedgehog, it rolls itself up into a ball. When a woman's frightened, she goes out and buys herself a hat.
You mean you scare us so that we'll buy more, so that money moves quicker, production moves up?
We don't say scare when we talk about human beings. We say threaten them emotionally. And there are all sorts of ways of doing it, not just the big ones like the hydrogen bomb. Overcrowd them a little with bad planning. Sell them too many motor cars. Anything to keep them a little bit removed from reality. Nowadays, people don't work for money. They work for the idea of money. They don't even love for love. They love for the idea of love. They only hate for the idea of hate. It took us 5 years to find a non-addictive D, gave them nice little hallucinations. Made them talk like 3-year-olds. Throw flowers at policemen. Politicians are easy to control. The grosser mentality boys who like to be photographed getting in and out of Daimlers in Whitehall. They come right at the bottom of our organization. A few rungs up the ladder, there are the people in the top secret factories. Just those in a position to know they're making weapons that don't really work.
There must come a time when somebody wants to use one of those weapons. I mean, somebody is standing there with a finger on the button.
Well, that's the beauty of it. Nobody presses the button.
I mean, all...
Palantir is a publicly traded corporation that specializes in big data integration on the software level. But what does that mean? In layman terminology, Palantir focuses on the orchestration, organization, and implementation of data. A ton of the information behind the scenes that products and services need, with a focus on automating the decision-making processes with that existing data infrastructure.
Hiding this from you. If the center of the Earth is incredibly hot, then why is the bottom of the ocean cold? It seems strange that the temperature of the ocean above the Earth's core is so cold when we're told there's a massive heat source beneath us. How can the Earth's core be so hot if the water right above it is near freezing? Scientists say the center of the Earth is like a fireball, but the deepest parts of the ocean is cold enough to kill a person in minutes. But this is where it gets scary. If the deepest anyone has ever drilled into the Earth is only about 12 kilometers, and no one has gone deeper, that's less than 0.2% of the Earth's radius. And if we've been lied to from the start, maybe there's more to the Earth than we're told. Some believe Antarctica isn't just a frozen desert. They say it's a massive wall of ice built to keep us out or to keep something in. Old maps made by forgotten explorers show continents that don't exist today. Hidden lands, entire worlds that were erased from modern history. What if these hidden lands are home to ancient beings, mysterious creatures we've never seen, or civilizations with technology so advanced it would make ours look primitive? Comment Earth and I'll send you an image of what they're really hiding in Antarctica.